Welcome. Let your eyes grow heavy and let your breathing slow. Tonight, we are not going anywhere fast. We are sinking, gently, into the deepest places on Earth. The great ocean trenches, where sunlight has never touched the seafloor, and where the water itself seems to remember a time before us. Down there, the world is quiet. Pressure presses in from every side, like the weight of a thick blanket. Cold currents move in slow circles, and somewhere in that endless dark, strange and gentle creatures drift through their lives, unseen and unhurried. You don't need to remember any of this. You don't need to follow a story or solve anything or stay alert. Just let these facts settle over you, one after another, like slow ripples spreading across still water. Some of what we explore tonight, scientists understand well. Other parts remain mysteries. And that's all right. Down in the trenches, not knowing is simply part of how things are. The ocean keeps its secrets patiently, the way a held breath settles into calm. So let your body sink into the bed beneath you, the way a leaf might sink slowly through dark water. Let your thoughts loosen. Let your mind drift toward the deep. There is nothing to do now but listen. Let's begin. Far beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean lies a place called the Mariana Trench. It is the deepest known place on our entire planet. Deeper than Mount Everest is tall, if you turned the mountain upside down and lowered it into the sea. The trench stretches for hundreds of miles, a long curved scar in the seafloor, formed where two giant slabs of the Earth's crust meet, and one slides slowly beneath the other. Down there, the world is almost entirely unmapped. Fewer people have visited its deepest point than have walked on the moon. Scientists still debate exactly how deep it truly is, because the measurements shift slightly, depending on the equipment used and the way sound travels through cold, dense water. Some readings suggest it could be even deeper than we currently believe. For now, the Mariana Trench remains a quiet, patient mystery, holding its true depth close, the way a held breath holds something gently inside. And speaking of depth, there is one point in the trench that goes deeper than any other. That point is called the Challenger Deep. It sits nearly 7 miles below the ocean's surface, in a small valley at the southern end of the Mariana Trench. If Mount Everest were placed at the bottom of the Challenger Deep, its peak would still be more than a mile underwater. The pressure there is over 1,000 times greater than at sea level, like having the weight of 100 elephants pressing down on a single square inch. Only a handful of crewed vehicles have ever reached this point, and each journey took hours just to descend. Some researchers believe there may be even deeper, unexplored pockets nearby, hidden in folds of the seafloor that no instrument has yet mapped. The Challenger Deep keeps its full shape a secret, drifting in darkness far below any light. Speaking of light, down at these depths, there is none at all. This region is called the aphotic zone, meaning without light. Sunlight cannot penetrate past about 3,000 feet, and the trenches lie far beyond that boundary, in permanent, total darkness. There is no day, no night, no changing seasons. Time, in a sense, simply stops mattering. Creatures that live here have evolved in ways shaped entirely by this absence of light. Many have no eyes at all, while others have eyes so sensitive they can detect the faintest possible glow. Some scientists wonder whether life that evolves in total darkness experiences the passage of time differently than creatures above, since light is so often used to mark the rhythm of a day. We may never fully know what it is like to live a life with no light at all, only the steady, patient dark. And in that dark, the water itself behaves differently. The pressure at the bottom of a trench is almost impossible to imagine. For every 10 meters you descend into the ocean, the pressure increases by about 1 atmosphere, the weight of all the air above you at sea level. By the time you reach the deepest trenches, that pressure has multiplied more than 1,000 times over. It would crush an unprotected human body almost instantly. Yet life still exists down there, soft-bodied and slow-moving, somehow surviving forces that would flatten steel. Scientists have studied special molecules inside these creatures, called piezolites, which seem to help their cells resist being crushed. How exactly these molecules work at such extremes is still being studied. The ocean's deepest pressure remains one of nature's quietest, strongest forces, felt by almost no one and understood by very few. These crushing depths did not appear by accident. They were built, slowly, over millions of years. Ocean trenches form at places called subduction zones, where one of Earth's tectonic plates is forced beneath another, sinking slowly into the planet's interior. As the heavier plate bends downward, it drags the seafloor with it, carving out a long, narrow valley, a trench. This process happens so slowly that it is almost impossible to notice, just a few centimeters each year, about the speed a fingernail grows. Over millions of years, those tiny movements add up to canyons deeper than anything on land. Some trenches are still actively forming today, deepening bit by bit with every passing year. In a sense, the ocean floor is still being shaped, quietly, beneath the waves, in a process so slow that no living thing will ever see it happen. These slow-moving plates do more than carve trenches. They also connect to something fiery far above. Many of the world's deepest trenches sit along a vast loop known as the Ring of Fire, a chain of fault lines and volcanoes that circles much of the Pacific Ocean. The same shifting of tectonic plates that creates trenches also causes earthquakes and powers volcanic eruptions along this ring. It connects places as far apart as Japan, the Philippines, and the western coast of South America. Scientists believe this ring has existed in some form for tens of millions of years, slowly reshaping itself as the plates beneath it shift and grind. What is striking is how connected these processes are. The same deep forces that build mountains and trigger eruptions also dig the deepest scars into the ocean floor. The Ring of Fire is a reminder that the Earth, even in its quietest places, is always slowly moving. Above these trenches, the ocean is always sending something down to meet them. It is often called marine snow, a slow, constant drift of tiny particles falling from the upper ocean toward the seafloor. This snow is made of dead plankton, bits of shell, dust, and other organic material, all slowly sinking through the water column. It can take weeks for a single flake to drift all the way down to the bottom of a trench. Once it arrives, it becomes food for the creatures living there, many of which depend entirely on this slow rain from above. Without sunlight to grow their own food, deep-sea life relies on this gentle, constant snowfall of leftovers from the world above. Some scientists describe the seafloor of a trench as being blanketed in this fine material, like a quiet field after a long, soft snowfall that never quite stops. Some of that material settles into pools unlike any found on land. In certain trenches, scientists have discovered what look like underwater lakes, sitting on the seafloor itself. These are pools of extremely salty water, called brine pools, so dense that they do not mix with the ocean around them. They have their own shoreline, their own surface, and their own strange chemistry, often containing methane or other gases that would be toxic to most life. And yet, around the edges of these pools, some creatures manage to survive, clustering at the boundary between the brine and the regular seawater. Researchers are still studying how these pools form and how long they have existed in their current shape. Some may have been sitting quietly on the ocean floor for thousands of years, hidden beneath miles of water, like small dark mirrors no one has ever looked into. Hidden, too, are tiny points of light scattered through this darkness. Bioluminescence, light created by living things, is remarkably common in the deep ocean. Many creatures here can produce their own soft glow using chemical reactions inside their bodies. Some use this light to lure prey closer. Others use it to confuse predators or to signal to potential mates in the endless dark. It is estimated that the majority of deep-sea animals can produce light in some form, making the deep ocean one of the most bioluminescent places on the planet, even though almost no sunlight ever reaches it. Scientists believe this glow may have evolved independently many different times, in many different creatures, each finding its own way to make light in a lightless world. In the deep trenches, darkness and light exist together, tiny glowing shapes drifting through endless black, like slow-moving stars in a sky that has no day. Some of these glowing creatures are part of a much larger, daily movement. Each day, as the sun sets above the ocean's surface, a vast number of small fish, shrimp, and other creatures begin to rise from the deep toward the surface, feeding in the dark before sinking back down before dawn. This mass movement is sometimes called the largest migration on Earth, even though most of it happens completely out of sight, hundreds or even thousands of feet below the waves. Sonar operators sometimes detect this rising and falling layer of life as a strange, shifting signal, sometimes called the deep scattering layer. For a long time, before it was understood, some researchers mistook it for a false seafloor. Every night, in near total darkness, an enormous, quiet migration takes place, unseen, unheard, and largely unnoticed by the world above. Deep beneath the waves, in 1977, scientists made a discovery that changed how we think about life itself. Using a small submersible, researchers exploring a section of seafloor near the Galapagos Islands came across something unexpected. Tall, mineral-rich chimneys rising from cracks in the Earth's crust, pouring out dark, heated water. These are called hydrothermal vents, sometimes nicknamed black smokers, because of the dark plumes of mineral particles streaming from them. The water gushing out can reach temperatures far hotter than boiling, yet it stays liquid because of the immense pressure at that depth. Around these vents, scientists found something nobody expected: thriving communities of life, in a place once thought to be empty and lifeless. Even now, new vent fields are occasionally discovered, each one slightly different from the last. The deep ocean, it turned out, had been quietly hiding entire ecosystems all along. What makes these ecosystems so unusual is how the creatures there get their energy. Almost all life on Earth's surface depends, in some way, on sunlight. Plants use it to grow, and animals eat the plants, or eat something that ate the plants. But near hydrothermal vents, there is no sunlight at all. Instead, certain bacteria have evolved a different process called chemosynthesis, using chemicals from the vent water, like hydrogen sulfide, to produce energy instead of light. These bacteria form the base of an entire food web, supporting creatures that exist nowhere else on Earth. Some scientists believe that studying chemosynthesis here could offer clues about how life might survive on other worlds, in places where sunlight never reaches. In the deep trenches, life found a way to feed itself, using the heat and chemistry of the Earth alone. One of the most striking results of this process can be seen in creatures called giant tube worms. These pale, soft-bodied animals can grow several feet long, clustering in dense groups around hydrothermal vents. They have no mouth, no stomach, and no way to eat in the way most animals do. Instead, they host colonies of chemosynthetic bacteria inside their bodies, which produce food for them directly. In exchange, the worm provides the bacteria with a safe home and a steady supply of chemicals from the vent water. It is a quiet partnership, built over millions of years, allowing both organisms to survive in a place that would otherwise be uninhabitable. Some of these tube worms may grow surprisingly quickly for deep-sea creatures, though scientists are still studying exactly how their lifespans compare to similar animals. Elsewhere, they sway gently in the warm currents, rooted in place, glowing faintly pale against the dark rock. Nearby, in the warmth of these vents, other creatures have found their own strange ways to live. The yeti crab, discovered only in the last few decades, is covered in pale, hair-like bristles across its claws and legs. Scientists believe these bristles may host bacteria as well, possibly helping the crab detoxify the chemicals in the vent water, or even providing a small source of food. The crabs have been seen waving their bristly claws gently back and forth near vent openings, almost like a slow, repeated motion, though researchers are still studying exactly why they do this. Some compare the motion to a kind of underwater dance, performed in near total darkness, for reasons that remain only partly understood. In the warm currents near the vents, these pale, bristly crabs go about their quiet lives, hidden from almost everyone. Not far away, one creature has earned a reputation as one of the toughest animals on the planet. The Pompeii worm lives directly on the sides of hydrothermal vent chimneys, in conditions that would destroy most living things. Its tail end can sit in water hotter than would cook most food, while its feathery head extends into much cooler water just inches away. It survives this extreme temperature difference with the help of a thick layer of bacteria covering its back, which may act like a kind of living insulation. Scientists are still studying exactly how this relationship works, and how the worm's body tolerates such a steep temperature gradient at all. For now, the Pompeii worm remains one of the most heat-tolerant animals known, living its entire life balanced on the edge of what seems survivable. Away from the vents, in the open dark water, other creatures have found very different solutions. The anglerfish is perhaps one of the most famous deep-sea animals, known for the glowing lure that extends from its head like a small lantern. This light is produced by bacteria living inside the lure, and the anglerfish uses it to attract curious prey close enough to catch. In some species, the much smaller males spend their lives attached to the larger females, fused to her body and relying on her for nourishment. Researchers believe this unusual arrangement may have evolved because finding a mate in the vast, dark ocean is so difficult that some species evolved a permanent solution. Out in the endless black, a single small light drifts slowly, waiting, patient and still. Drifting nearby, another creature carries an old and dramatic name, despite its gentle nature. The vampire squid gets its name from its dark red color and the way it can wrap its webbed arms around its body, almost like a cloak. Despite the name, it does not feed on blood at all. Instead, it drifts slowly through the water, feeding on falling marine snow and tiny particles. It has large, sensitive eyes, among the largest relative to body size of any animal, helping it detect the faintest traces of light in its deep, dark home. When startled, instead of fleeing quickly like many squid, it tends to move slowly, sometimes curling its arms inward. Scientists believe this slow, energy-saving lifestyle may help it survive in a part of the ocean where food is scarce and energy must be used carefully. In the deep, even creatures with dramatic names often live quiet, unhurried lives. Quiet, too, is the way of another small deep-sea animal, often described as one of the most charming. The Dumbo octopus is named for the two large, ear-like fins on the sides of its head, which it flaps gently to move through the water. It lives at extreme depths, often deeper than almost any other octopus species, drifting slowly above the seafloor in search of small prey like worms and crustaceans. Unlike many of its relatives, it has no ink sac, since releasing ink in complete darkness would serve little purpose. Its movements are slow and graceful, almost like a small bird gliding through water instead of air. Scientists have observed only a small number of these animals directly, since they live in such remote places, and much about their behavior remains unknown. In the deep, dark water, this small creature drifts along, flapping its soft fins in slow, silent rhythm. Along the seafloor itself, other creatures grow to sizes that might surprise you. Giant isopods, distant relatives of the small pillbugs sometimes found in gardens, can grow remarkably large in the deep ocean, some specimens reaching over a foot in length. They are slow-moving scavengers, feeding on whatever falls to the seafloor, from dead fish to sinking marine snow. Scientists believe their large size may be partly explained by the cold temperatures and high pressure of the deep sea, conditions that seem to allow certain creatures to grow larger than their shallow water relatives. Exactly why this happens in some species and not others is still being studied. For now, these pale, armored scavengers move slowly across the seafloor, patient and unhurried, doing the quiet work of cleaning the deep. And when something larger falls to the seafloor, an entirely different kind of creature appears. Zombie worms, more formally known as osedacs, have no eyes, no stomach, and no obvious mouth. Instead, they specialize in something very particular, burrowing into the bones of dead whales that sink to the ocean floor. using root-like structures to draw nutrients directly from the bone itself. These worms were only discovered in the early 2000s, and scientists believe many more undiscovered species may exist, each specialized for slightly different conditions. A single whale skeleton can support a community of these worms, along with many other scavengers, for years or even decades, in what researchers sometimes call a whale fall ecosystem. Slowly, quietly, in total darkness, these strange worms recycle what is left behind, turning an ending into the beginning of something else. That whale fall we just spoke of does not disappear quickly. It becomes something more like a slow, quiet event. When a whale's body settles onto the seafloor, it can take decades for it to be fully broken down. Scientists describe this process in stages. First, larger scavengers like sharks and crabs feed on the soft tissue, sometimes for a year or more. Then smaller creatures move in, breaking down what remains. Finally, bacteria slowly consume the bones themselves, releasing chemicals that can support entire communities of small organisms, similar to those found near hydrothermal vents. A single whale fall can support more species, in sequence, than almost any other event on the seafloor. Researchers believe these whale falls may act like stepping stones, allowing certain deep-sea creatures to slowly spread across long distances, moving from one fallen whale to the next over generations. In the dark, even an ending can quietly support new beginnings for a very long time. While some life forms come and go quickly, others in the deep barely seem to change at all. Black corals, found in deep, cold waters, grow extremely slowly, sometimes only a fraction of an inch over many years. Because of this slow growth, scientists have found that some black corals may be among the oldest living animals on Earth, with some estimated to be thousands of years old. Imagine a single living creature that was already old before many human civilizations began, still sitting quietly on the same patch of seafloor, growing almost imperceptibly. Researchers use special dating methods to estimate their age, though there is still some uncertainty in exactly how old the oldest individuals truly are. In the slow, cold dark, some lives stretch on for so long that human history feels brief by comparison. Nearby, other ancient-looking creatures take a very different shape. Glass sponges form delicate, intricate skeletons made almost entirely of silica, the same material found in glass. Some species grow into large, vice-like or tube-like structures, providing shelter for smaller creatures that live within their structure. Like black corals, glass sponges can grow extremely slowly, with some individuals estimated to be many hundreds or even over 1,000 years old. Their delicate skeletons can remain intact long after the sponge itself has died, sometimes forming reef-like structures on the seafloor that other organisms use as habitat. Scientists are still studying how these ancient sponge reefs form and how long they take to recover if disturbed. In the deep, fragile glass and ancient time exist together, quietly, for centuries at a time. Not everything in the deep ocean is solid, though. Some places are defined by what is missing. In certain parts of the ocean, oxygen levels drop dramatically at certain depths, creating what scientists call oxygen minimum zones. These layers can stretch for hundreds of miles, and within them, only specially adapted creatures can survive for long. Some fish and squid have evolved ways to slow their metabolism dramatically while passing through these zones, almost like holding their breath for extended periods. Scientists believe these zones may be slowly expanding in some parts of the ocean, though the long-term effects of this change are still being studied. For now, these vast, low-oxygen layers drift through the ocean, mostly empty, mostly quiet, like wide hallways that only a few creatures know how to cross. Beneath all of this, the seafloor itself holds a kind of memory. Layer by layer, sediment slowly settles onto the ocean floor, building up over thousands and even millions of years. By drilling deep into this sediment and pulling out long cylindrical cores, scientists can read a kind of history, each layer representing a different period of time, containing traces of ancient climates, volcanic eruptions, and even the shells of long-extinct creatures. Some of these cores stretch back hundreds of thousands of years into the past, layer after layer of quiet history pressed into mud and clay. Researchers are still studying some of the oldest of these cores, trying to understand what they reveal about Earth's distant past. Deep beneath the trenches, the planet has been quietly writing its own story, one thin layer at a time. Scattered across some of these ancient seafloors, strange round objects sometimes appear. Manganese nodules are dark, potato-shaped lumps made of minerals that form extremely slowly on the deep seafloor. So slowly that a single nodule might take millions of years to grow to the size of a fist. They form in layers, similar to the way a pearl forms inside an oyster, very gradually accumulating minerals from the surrounding water and sediment. Fields of these nodules have been found covering vast areas of certain deep ocean plains, sitting quietly on the seafloor for ages. Scientists are still studying exactly how long it takes for these nodules to form in different locations, and what role they may play for the small creatures living among them. In the deep, even something as simple as a small round rock can carry millions of years of patient, slow formation. For most of human history, places like this were completely beyond our reach. Then, slowly, that began to change. In 1960, a small submersible called the Trieste carried two researchers down to the bottom of the Challenger Deep, becoming the first vehicle to ever reach the deepest known point in the ocean. The journey down took nearly 5 hours, through total darkness and increasing pressure, before the vehicle gently settled onto the seafloor. The two researchers reported seeing what they believed was a small flatfish near the bottom, though this observation has been debated by scientists ever since visibility at that depth is extremely limited. After spending only about 20 minutes at the bottom, they began the long journey back to the surface. For decades afterward, no other crewed vehicle would attempt the same depth again. It would be more than 50 years before anyone returned. In 2012, filmmaker and explorer James Cameron piloted a specially designed submersible called the Deep Sea Challenger on a solo dive to the bottom of the Challenger Deep. The vehicle was built to withstand the immense pressure of the deepest ocean, using new materials designed specifically for this kind of extreme environment. Cameron spent several hours exploring the seafloor, collecting samples, and recording footage of this remote environment. Since then, a small number of other expeditions have also reached the bottom, each one adding a little more to our understanding of this distant place. Even now, each new dive tends to reveal something unexpected, reminding researchers how little of the deepest ocean has truly been explored. Before any of these vehicles could descend, though, scientists first had to learn how to measure the depths at all. For centuries, sailors measured ocean depth using long ropes with weights attached, lowering them by hand until they touched bottom, a slow and often inaccurate process. In the 20th century, this changed with the development of sonar, which uses sound waves to measure depth. A sound pulse is sent downward, and the time it takes to bounce back reveals how far away the seafloor is. This technology allowed scientists to map vast stretches of ocean floor for the first time, revealing mountain ranges, trenches, and valleys hidden beneath the waves. Even with modern technology, though, large parts of the deep ocean floor remain only roughly mapped, with finer details still unknown. In many ways, we still know the surface of the moon better than we know the bottom of our own oceans. What sonar reveals, again and again, is that the ocean floor is far from flat. Scattered across the deep ocean are thousands of underwater mountains called seamounts, many of them extinct volcanoes that never grew tall enough to break the surface. Some of these seamounts rise thousands of feet from the seafloor, creating their own local ecosystems, often home to creatures not found anywhere else nearby. Because ocean currents are forced to flow around and over these mountains, they can create unique conditions that support unusually rich communities of life. Scientists estimate that there may be tens of thousands of seamounts still uncharted in detail, each one a potential small world of its own. Hidden beneath the waves, an entire hidden landscape of mountains rises and falls, mostly unseen, mostly unexplored. Sound, it turns out, travels through the deep ocean in ways that are hard to imagine on land. In the 1990s, underwater microphones picked up an extremely loud, low-frequency sound, far louder than almost any known animal call, originating somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Researchers nicknamed it the bloop. For years, its source remained unidentified, leading to many different theories about what might have caused it. Eventually, scientists came to believe it was likely caused by a large icequake, the cracking and shifting of ice, possibly from Antarctica, traveling thousands of miles through the ocean before being detected. Even with this explanation, some details about exactly how the sound traveled so far and why it had such a distinctive shape are still discussed among researchers. For a while, in the deep ocean, something loud and unexplained had simply been waiting to be understood. That something could travel so far is less surprising once you understand how sound behaves underwater. At a certain depth, ocean water creates what is sometimes called the seafloor channel, a layer where sound waves become trapped, bouncing along without losing much energy, sometimes traveling for thousands of miles. Whales are believed to use this channel to communicate across vast distances, with some calls potentially reaching other whales on the opposite side of an ocean. Military researchers also use this same channel for long-distance underwater listening. Scientists are still studying exactly how different sounds behave within this channel, and how marine life may be affected by changes to the ocean's temperature and sound patterns. In the deep, a single sound can travel further and longer than almost anything on land ever could. Within that vast, sound-filled darkness, countless small creatures rise and fall each day, many of them glowing softly. Lanternfish are among the most abundant fish in the entire ocean. Even though most people have never seen one, they have light-producing organs along their bodies, which some scientists believe may help them recognize members of their own species in the dark, or possibly help break up their silhouette to confuse predators looking up from below. Each night, they rise toward the surface to feed, then sink back down before sunrise, as part of that great daily migration we spoke of earlier. Because there are so many of them, lanternfish play an important role in transporting energy from the surface ocean down into the deep. Quietly, in enormous numbers, these small glowing fish move up and down through the water column, mostly unnoticed, every single day. Some of the creatures lanternfish must avoid have rather dramatic names. The viperfish is named for its long, needle-like teeth, which are so large that they cannot fully fit inside its mouth. Despite this fierce appearance, viperfish are relatively small, and their teeth are likely used simply to grip slippery prey rather than for any dramatic display. Like many deep-sea fish, they have light-producing organs, and some scientists believe they may use these lights to lure prey close enough to strike. Viperfish are also part of the daily vertical migration, moving toward shallower water at night and retreating to the depths during the day. Despite their fearsome teeth, they spend most of their lives simply drifting, waiting, in the quiet dark. Drifting near them, another small fish carries an equally striking name. Hatchetfish are named for their thin, flattened bodies, shaped a little like the blade of a hatchet. Their eyes point almost straight upward, which scientists believe helps them spot the silhouettes of prey against the faint light filtering down from above. Like several other deep-sea fish, hatchetfish can produce their own light along their undersides, which may help them blend in with the dim light above them, making it harder for predators below to see their outline, a kind of living camouflage. Researchers are still studying exactly how well this camouflage works in different lighting conditions. In the dim, shifting light of the deep, this small fish quietly works to disappear into the very brightness it lives beneath. Further down, in darker water still, a very different kind of fish moves slowly through the black. The gulper eel is known for its enormous mouth, which can open wide enough to swallow prey larger than its own body. Its body is otherwise long, thin, and somewhat fragile-looking, ending in a long tail that, in some individuals, can produce a small glow. Scientists believe the gulper eel's huge mouth may be an adaptation to a place where food is scarce and unpredictable. Better to be able to eat almost anything that comes along since another meal might not appear for a long time. Despite its dramatic appearance, the gulper eel moves slowly and is rarely seen, drifting through deep water with its strange, oversized mouth held gently closed. Closer to the seafloor, other deep-sea fish have taken on appearances unlike almost anything else. The goblin shark is named for its long, flattened snout and its unusual protruding jaw, which can extend forward rapidly to catch prey, almost like a small trapdoor snapping open. It lives at depths where very little light reaches, and its pale, pinkish color is thought to result from blood vessels visible through its translucent skin. Goblin sharks are rarely encountered, and much about their behavior and lifespan remains poorly understood, since so few have ever been observed in their natural habitat. Some researchers believe this species may be a remnant of a much older lineage of sharks, largely unchanged for a very long time. In the deep, this strange pale shark moves slowly, its unusual jaw held quietly in place, waiting. Even older in appearance is another deep-sea shark, often compared to creatures from the distant past. The frilled shark has a long, eel-like body and rows of teeth arranged in a way that some scientists believe resembles ancient shark species from millions of years ago, earning it a reputation as a kind of living fossil. It is rarely seen by humans, usually only when one is accidentally caught in deep fishing nets, or occasionally found near the surface, likely after becoming disoriented or unwell. Because so few living frilled sharks have been observed in their natural deep-sea habitat, much about their normal behavior, hunting style, and lifespan remains uncertain. In the deep, this ancient-looking shark continues to live much as its distant relatives may have, largely unseen and only rarely glimpsed. Larger creatures, too, make their homes in this deep, dark water, some far larger than people once believed possible. For centuries, sailors told stories of enormous sea monsters with long, snaking arms, capable of dragging ships beneath the waves. For a long time, scientists were skeptical that such creatures truly existed. Then, evidence began to accumulate, washed-up remains, and eventually, photographs and even video footage of living giant squid in their natural deep-sea habitat. These animals can grow to remarkable lengths, with long tentacles lined with suckers, and large eyes adapted to detect movement in near-total darkness. Even now, very few living giant squid have ever been filmed in the wild, and many details about their normal behavior, diet, and lifespan remain only partly understood. Somewhere in the deep, these long, pale creatures continue to drift, mostly unseen, much as they likely have for a very long time. An even larger and even more mysterious relative may also exist in these depths. The colossal squid is believed to be even heavier than the giant squid, though potentially shorter in overall length, with a thicker body and unusually large eyes. Among the largest eyes of any animal known, only a small number of complete specimens have ever been recovered, most of them from the stomachs of deep-diving whales or caught accidentally by fishing vessels. Because so few have been studied, much about how colossal squid live, hunt, and grow remains unknown. Scientists continue to debate details about their size, behavior, and how common they truly are in the deep ocean. Somewhere, in the cold, dark water far below, these enormous, large-eyed creatures may still be drifting, quietly, in a part of the ocean almost no one has ever truly seen. Among all the fish that have been found living at extreme depths, one small, pale animal holds a record that surprised many scientists. Snailfish are small, soft-bodied fish with translucent, jelly-like flesh, and certain species have been observed living deeper than almost any other fish known. Their bodies lack the dense bones and rigid structures found in many other fish, which scientists believe may help them withstand the immense pressure of their environment, since less rigid structures are less likely to be crushed. Researchers have used deep-sea cameras and traps to study these fish in their natural habitat, since they cannot survive being brought up to the surface. Even now, scientists continue to find snailfish living slightly deeper than previously recorded, raising the question of just how deep a fish can actually live. Somewhere, in the deepest, coldest water, a small, pale, jelly-like fish may still be quietly setting a new, unrecorded depth of its own. Sharing those depths are creatures that, on land, would seem impossibly small, but not down here. Giant amphipods are distant relatives of small shrimp-like creatures, often found in shallow, water, and even garden soil. In the deepest parts of certain trenches, though, some amphipod species grow remarkably large, reaching sizes far beyond their shallow water relatives. Scientists believe this unusual growth may be related to the cold temperatures, high pressure, and limited food availability of the deep trenches, conditions that seem to favor larger body sizes in certain animals, though exactly why this happens remains an active area of research. These larger amphipods have been observed gathering in large numbers around bait left by deep-sea research vessels, sometimes arriving within hours, even at the bottom of the deepest trenches. In the dark, these enlarged scavengers move quickly toward any food that arrives, gathering in numbers that might surprise anyone familiar only with their smaller relatives above. Not all deep-sea creatures have a clear shape at all. Xenophyophores are strange, single-celled organisms that can grow surprisingly large for something made of just one cell, some specimens reaching several inches across. They build intricate shells out of sediment and tiny particles from the seafloor, creating delicate, often star-shaped or honeycomb-like structures. Despite being made of only a single cell, they can be among the most visible living things on certain stretches of deep seafloor, sometimes covering large areas in dense fields. Scientists are still studying how these organisms grow to such sizes while remaining single cells, and what role they play in the wider deep-sea ecosystem. In some of the most remote parts of the ocean floor, these strange, intricate, single-celled structures sit quietly, like small sculptures formed entirely from sediment and patience. Moving slowly across that same sediment are creatures shaped almost like soft, gentle cucumbers. Deep-sea cucumbers are close relatives of the sea cucumbers sometimes found in shallow tide pools, but many deep-sea species have taken on unusual and varied forms. Some are nearly transparent, while others have long, finger-like projections or unusually bright colors. Despite living in total darkness, they move slowly across the seafloor, feeding on sediment and extracting whatever nutrients they can from the material around them. In some areas, they are among the most common visible animals on the deep seafloor, slowly grazing across vast, otherwise empty-looking plains. Scientists believe their bright colors, in a place with no light to see them by, may serve purposes that are not yet fully understood. Slowly, patiently, these soft creatures move across the seafloor, carrying colors that, in the deep dark, no one else may ever see. Some deep-sea creatures take patience to an extreme that surprised even experienced researchers. A certain species of deep-sea octopus was observed by researchers brooding a clutch of eggs for an unusually long period of time, far longer than almost any other animal known to guard its eggs. During this time, the octopus was seen clinging to a rocky ledge, rarely if ever leaving, and appearing not to feed at all, instead dedicating all of her remaining energy to protecting her eggs until they were ready to hatch. Scientists believe the cold temperatures of the deep ocean may slow down development significantly, which could help explain why this process took so long. Exactly how the octopus survived for that length of time without feeding is still being studied. In the deep, this small creature waited, motionless and patient, for far longer than almost anything else in the animal kingdom is known to wait. Patience of a different kind belongs to a small, unusual shark with a rather striking name. The cookie-cutter shark is a small shark known for taking round, plug-shaped bites out of much larger animals, including whales, dolphins, and even submarines, leaving behind distinctive circular wounds. It is believed to rise toward the surface at night as part of the daily vertical migration, using a glowing underside to disguise its silhouette before darting forward to take a quick bite from a passing animal. Despite its small size, this shark has been responsible for distinctive scars found on many larger marine animals around the world, Researchers are still studying exactly how it manages to attach itself and remove such precise, round sections of flesh so quickly. In the dim light of dusk, this small shark waits, glowing softly, before making its quick, quiet approach. Deeper still, larger sharks move more slowly, in colder, darker water. The six-gill shark is one of the largest deep-sea sharks, distinguished by having 6 gill slits instead of the 5 found in most other sharks, a feature shared with some of the oldest known shark lineages. It spends much of its life in deep water, sometimes moving into shallower areas at night to feed. Because of the depths at which it normally lives, scientists have only been able to study a limited number of individuals directly, and much about its lifespan, migration patterns, and behavior remains only partly understood. Some researchers believe this species may live for many decades, though exact estimates vary. In the deep, this large, ancient-looking shark moves slowly through cold water, much as its distant relatives likely did, long before recorded history began. Far smaller and far more delicate, other creatures drift through this same water, glowing softly as they move. Comb jellies are not true jellyfish, despite their similar appearance, and are named for the rows of tiny, hair-like structures along their bodies, which beat in a rhythmic pattern to help them swim. As these structures move, they can scatter light in a way that creates shimmering, rainbow-like colors, even in the absence of bioluminescence. Some species also produce their own light, adding a soft glow to the shifting colors created by their movement. Scientists believe comb jellies have existed in some form for a very long time, and some research suggests they may represent one of the earliest branches of complex animal life, though this remains an area of ongoing study and discussion. In the deep, dark water, these soft, fragile creatures drift slowly, shimmering quietly with colors that have no audience. Other jellyfish, too, drift through these depths, taking on forms that seem almost otherworldly. Some deep-sea jellyfish have been observed with long, trailing tentacles that can stretch for many feet, far longer than their main body. Others have unusual, glowing patterns that pulse gently as they move, which scientists believe may serve as a warning to potential predators, or possibly as a way to startle or distract them. Because deep-sea jellyfish are delicate and easily damaged, much of what is known about them comes from careful observations using remote cameras rather than physical specimens. New species are still occasionally discovered, each with its own particular shape and pattern of light. In the deep, these soft, pulsing shapes drift slowly through the dark, glowing gently, in colors and patterns that few have ever seen. Even in these remote places, though, researchers have sometimes found traces of the world above. Occasionally, deep-sea expeditions have reported finding small pieces of material that appear to have drifted down from the surface world, settling quietly onto the seafloor of even the deepest trenches. Scientists are still studying how far and how deep such material can travel, and how long it might remain there once it arrives. It is a quiet reminder of how connected the ocean truly is, from its sunlit surface all the way down to its darkest, most remote corners. Even in a place so far removed from the world above, nothing is ever entirely separate. The deep ocean, in its own slow way, remains connected to everything above it. That connection between the surface and the deep is also carried, slowly, by the movement of water itself. Deep beneath the surface, vast currents move through the ocean in slow, looping patterns, driven by differences in temperature and saltiness. This process is sometimes called thermohaline circulation, and it can take water from the surface near the poles all the way down to the deep ocean, where it then spreads slowly across the planet before eventually rising again, sometimes centuries later. Some scientists estimate that a single drop of water might take roughly 1,000 years to complete one full loop through this deep circulation system. In a sense, the water moving slowly through a trench today may have last touched the surface long before recorded history began. The ocean, in its own quiet way, keeps time on a scale far longer than a single human life. Wherever that water eventually settles, in the deepest trenches, it tends to be remarkably cold. Temperatures at the bottom of most deep ocean trenches hover just above freezing, often only a few degrees above the point where water would turn to ice, if not for the immense pressure keeping it liquid. This cold is remarkably stable, barely changing from one season to the next, or even from one year to the next. Creatures living here have adapted to this constant cold in various ways, often having very slow metabolisms that allow them to survive on little food and little movement. Scientists believe this stability, while harsh, may also be part of what allows certain deep-sea species to live for such unusually long periods of time. In the deep, the cold is not a passing season. It is simply how things have always been. That same unchanging cold and pressure creates particular challenges for any creature that relies on gas-filled spaces inside its body. Many fish use a gas-filled organ, called a swim bladder, to help control their buoyancy, allowing them to float at a certain depth without constant effort. But at extreme depths, the pressure on this gas becomes so great that maintaining a swim bladder becomes difficult, or even impossible. Many deep-sea fish have evolved to have reduced swim bladders, or none at all, relying instead on other methods to manage their buoyancy, such as having bodies made of less dense materials. Scientists are still studying exactly how different deep-sea species manage buoyancy without traditional swim bladders, and how this may have evolved differently across various groups of fish. In the deep, even something as simple as floating in place requires its own quiet solutions. Between the sunlit surface and the deepest trenches lies a vast, dim region with its own particular character. This middle layer is sometimes called the twilight zone or the mesopelagic zone, and it begins where sunlight starts to fade and ends where it disappears completely. Within this zone, there is just enough light for some creatures to see faint shapes and movements, but not enough for plants to grow. It is home to an enormous number of small fish, like the lanternfish we spoke of earlier, as well as many of the creatures involved in that nightly vertical migration. Scientists believe this zone may contain a far greater amount of biomass than previously estimated, though exact figures remain difficult to measure given how vast and difficult to study this region is. In this dim, in-between world, light fades slowly into darkness, and an enormous, quiet community of life moves through it every day. Below the twilight zone, eventually, the seafloor itself flattens out into something vast and quiet. The abyssal plain is one of the largest habitats on Earth, a vast, relatively flat expanse of seafloor, covering enormous areas of the ocean basin, broken occasionally by trenches, seamounts, and other features. Despite its size, the abyssal plain often appears, at first glance, to be nearly empty, a soft, sediment-covered landscape stretching in every direction. But closer study reveals a slow, steady presence of life, from small worms and crustaceans living within the sediment, to the occasional larger scavenger passing through. Scientists believe much of this vast plain remains unexplored in any real detail, simply because of how enormous it is. Somewhere out there, vast quiet plains stretch on for hundreds of miles, mostly unseen, mostly unmapped, holding their own slow, patient kind of life. Part of why these places appear so empty has to do with how light itself behaves in water. As sunlight passes through water, different colors are absorbed at different depths. Red light disappears first, often within the first few dozen feet, followed gradually by orange, yellow, and green. Blue light travels deepest, which is part of why the ocean often appears blue from above. By the time you reach a few hundred feet down, the world has shifted into shades of blue and gray, and beyond that, into complete darkness. This is part of why so many deep-sea creatures appear red or black. In a place where red light cannot reach, the color red effectively becomes a kind of invisibility. Slowly, gently, as you descend, the world loses its colors one by one, until only darkness remains. Within that darkness, the seafloor quietly performs another important role for the planet as a whole. Some scientists believe that deep ocean trenches may act as long-term storage sites for carbon as organic material slowly sinks down and becomes buried in sediment, potentially remaining there for very long periods of time. This process is part of a much larger system that helps regulate the amount of carbon moving between the ocean, atmosphere, and seafloor. Researchers are still studying exactly how much carbon is stored this way, and how stable this storage truly is over long timescales. In the quiet dark of a trench, slow and almost invisible processes may be playing a small role in shaping the world far above, in ways that are still being carefully studied and understood. The seafloor of a trench is not always quiet, though. Sometimes it shifts suddenly, far below. Because trenches form at the boundaries between tectonic plates, they are also sites of frequent earthquakes, some of them among the largest ever recorded. These earthquakes occur as built-up pressure between two plates is suddenly released, causing the seafloor to shift, sometimes by many feet, in a matter of seconds. Some of these underwater earthquakes can trigger large waves that travel across entire ocean basins. Scientists continue to study these trenches closely, trying to better understand the patterns and timing of these events, though predicting exactly when one will occur remains extremely difficult. In the quiet dark of the deep, enormous forces sometimes shift suddenly, then settle again into stillness, sometimes for decades at a time. Sometimes that shifting comes with heat as well as motion. Underwater volcanoes exist throughout the ocean, including near many trenches, occasionally erupting in ways that go almost entirely unnoticed by the world above. Some of these eruptions release plumes of ash and gas into the water, briefly changing the chemistry and temperature of the surrounding area. Scientists have observed some underwater eruptions using remote sensors, capturing rare footage of glowing lava meeting cold seawater, instantly cooling into strange, twisted shapes. Researchers believe many underwater volcanic eruptions go completely undetected, simply because so much of the ocean floor remains unmonitored. Somewhere, right now, it is possible that a quiet eruption is taking place, deep beneath the waves, with no one around to see it. With so much still unmonitored, it should come as no surprise that new discoveries continue, again and again. Each deep-sea expedition tends to bring back at least a few species that have never been formally described before, from small worms and crustaceans to entirely new types of fish. Some researchers estimate that the majority of species living in the deep ocean have not yet been identified, simply because so little of this environment has been thoroughly explored. Even well-studied trenches occasionally reveal something new during later expeditions, suggesting that our picture of life in these places is still far from complete. In some ways, the deep ocean may be one of the least explored frontiers remaining on our own planet. Down in the trenches, somewhere, creatures are likely living right now that no person has ever seen, named, or described. Even in the sediment itself, far below any visible creature, life continues in forms too small to see. Within the mud and sediment of the deep sea floor, scientists have found vast populations of microorganisms living quietly, sometimes buried many feet beneath the surface of the sediment itself. Some of these microbes appear to grow and reproduce extremely slowly, with certain estimates suggesting some populations may go for very long periods between generations, far slower than almost any other life on Earth. Researchers believe these microbes may survive on extremely small amounts of energy, extracted from chemical reactions within the sediment itself. Exactly how some of these organisms manage to persist for so long, on so little, is still being studied. Beneath the trenches, in the dark mud, an entire hidden world of microscopic life moves through time at its own, impossibly slow pace. This kind of life, surviving in conditions once thought impossible, has caught the attention of scientists studying far more than just our own oceans. Organisms that survive in extreme conditions, intense pressure, complete darkness, near freezing temperatures, or unusual chemistry, are sometimes called extremophiles. By studying how these creatures survive on Earth, in places like deep ocean trenches and hydrothermal vents, researchers hope to better understand what kinds of conditions life might be able to tolerate elsewhere. Some scientists believe that environments similar to deep-sea hydrothermal vents might exist beneath the icy surfaces of certain moons in our solar system, raising the question of whether similar life could exist there too. This remains, for now, simply a hypothesis, with no direct evidence either way. Still, in studying the deepest, darkest corners of our own planet, scientists may be quietly gathering clues about the possibility of life far beyond it. To study these places at all, scientists have had to build machines capable of going where people cannot easily follow. Remotely operated vehicles, often called ROVs, are unmanned underwater robots, connected to a ship above by a long cable, controlled by operators watching through cameras. These vehicles can be equipped with lights, sampling tools, and sensors, allowing scientists to explore deep-sea environments for extended periods without the risks involved in sending people down directly. Some ROVs have been used to explore hydrothermal vents, shipwrecks, and trenches, sending back live footage of places no human eye had ever directly observed. Researchers continue to develop new versions of these vehicles, capable of reaching greater depths and operating for longer periods. Slowly, patiently, these quiet machines drift through the dark, sending images back to the world above. Before remotely operated vehicles became common, though, some researchers explored the deep-in suits of their own. Atmospheric diving suits are rigid, armor-like suits that allow a person to descend to significant depths while remaining at normal surface pressure inside the suit itself, protected from the crushing forces outside. These suits include joints that allow some limited movement, though wearing one has often been described as feeling somewhat like being inside a small, jointed submarine. They have been used for tasks like underwater construction, salvage operations, and occasionally scientific exploration, allowing a person to work at depths that would otherwise be impossible to survive unprotected. Compared to ROVs, these suits are now used less often for deep scientific exploration, though they remain in use for certain specialized tasks. For a brief time, a small number of people experienced the deep ocean directly, sealed inside suits built to hold back its enormous pressure. While people in suits or submersibles occasionally visit, far greater numbers of small creatures make this journey every single day, in the form of one tiny, easily overlooked animal. Krill are small, shrimp-like crustaceans found throughout the world's oceans, often in enormous numbers. Like many other small creatures, certain krill species take part in vertical migrations, moving toward the surface at night to feed and returning to deeper water during the day. Because they exist in such vast quantities, krill form an important part of the diet for many larger animals, from fish to whales. Scientists believe the daily movement of krill, multiplied across their enormous populations, may represent one of the largest movements of biomass on the planet, happening quietly, every day, mostly unnoticed. In the dark water above the trenches, countless small creatures rise and fall together, in a rhythm older than most things we think of as old. Some of the larger animals that feed on krill also communicate across the ocean in their own, quiet way. Certain whale species produce long, low-frequency calls that can travel extremely long distances underwater, sometimes potentially reaching other whales many miles away, especially when traveling through deep water layers like the SOFAR channel we mentioned earlier. Scientists have studied these calls for decades, finding that they can change slightly over time, almost like a slow drift in dialect across a population. Researchers continue to study what these calls might mean and how whales use them, for navigation, for finding mates, or simply for staying in contact across vast distances. Somewhere above the trenches, in the dark water, a long, slow call may be moving outward right now, traveling further than almost any sound on land ever could. Far from where most of these calls originate, other trenches around the world hold their own quiet records. The Tonga Trench, located in the South Pacific, is one of the deepest trenches in the world, formed where one tectonic plate is being pushed beneath another at one of the fastest rates recorded anywhere on Earth. Nearby, the Kermadec Trench shares a similar origin, part of the same long boundary between shifting plates. Both trenches are known for frequent earthquakes, and both remain only partially explored, with much of their deepest sections rarely visited. Researchers studying these trenches have found unique deep-sea communities, somewhat different from those found in the Mariana Trench, suggesting that each trench may host its own distinct mix of life. In the South Pacific, these long, deep scars in the seafloor continue to shift and deepen, quietly, year after year. On the other side of the world, in the Atlantic Ocean, another deep trench holds its own quiet history. The Puerto Rico Trench is the deepest point in the Atlantic Ocean, formed along a complex boundary where several tectonic plates meet. Like other trenches, it has been the site of significant earthquakes throughout history, some of which have affected nearby coastal areas. Because it lies relatively close to populated regions, compared to many other deep trenches, it has been studied somewhat more than some of its Pacific counterparts, though large portions remain unexplored. Scientists continue to monitor this trench for seismic activity, given its location and history. Even in an ocean as well-traveled as the Atlantic, this deep trench remains a quiet, mostly unseen presence beneath the waves. Further still, in the Indian Ocean, another trench holds its own particular place in the story of our planet. The Java Trench, sometimes called the Sunda Trench, runs along part of the boundary where the Indian Ocean's seafloor is being pushed beneath Southeast Asia. This trench has been the site of some of history's most significant undersea earthquakes, including events that caused large waves affecting coastlines thousands of miles away. Scientists continue to study this trench closely, both for its role in past events and for what it might reveal about future seismic activity in the region. Like other trenches, much of its deepest sections remain only partially explored, holding details about its seafloor that are still being mapped. Beneath the Indian Ocean, this long, deep trench continues its slow, patient work, shaping the world above in ways that unfold over centuries. With so many trenches, each holding their own mix of life, history, and slow geological change, it is worth pausing to consider just how much remains unknown. Scientists often describe the deep ocean as one of the least explored environments on Earth, with some estimating that only a small fraction of the seafloor has been mapped in detail, and an even smaller fraction has been directly observed by cameras or submersibles. Each new expedition tends to bring back new questions as often as it answers old ones. Some researchers believe that entire ecosystems, perhaps even entirely new types of organisms, remain waiting to be discovered in trenches that have barely been visited at all. For now, much of the deep ocean remains exactly as it has been for millions of years, dark, quiet, and patiently unexplored, holding its mysteries close, the way the night sky holds its furthest stars. Not everything in the deep is dark and bare. In certain places, the seafloor blooms into something almost like a garden. In cold, deep waters around the world, certain types of coral can form large, slow-growing structures, sometimes called deep-sea coral gardens. Unlike the corals found in warm, shallow reefs, these deep-water corals do not rely on sunlight and instead feed on small particles drifting through the water. Some of these coral gardens have been found to support a surprising variety of other species, from small fish to crustaceans, all sheltering among the slow-growing branches. Because these corals grow so slowly, some of these gardens may have been developing quietly for many hundreds of years. Scientists continue to discover new coral gardens in unexpected places, often in cold, dark water far from any sunlight. In the deep, even without light, something resembling a garden can quietly take shape, growing slower than almost anything else alive. The very deepest of these dark places has its own name, set apart from the rest of the ocean. The deepest parts of the ocean, generally the trenches themselves, are sometimes referred to as the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, a word associated with the underworld in ancient mythology. This zone begins around the same depth where most trenches start, and extends down to their deepest points. Life in the Hadal Zone faces the most extreme conditions found anywhere in the ocean, combining total darkness, near-freezing temperatures, and crushing pressure all at once. Scientists have found that life in this zone can sometimes differ noticeably, even between trenches that are relatively close to one another. suggesting that each trench may have developed its own somewhat isolated community of creatures over time. Far below, in the Hadal zone, each trench may quietly hold its own small, separate world. Because each trench may hold its own particular mix of life, researchers have found some creatures living in only one place on Earth. In certain trenches, scientists have identified species of snailfish, worms, or other small creatures that, as far as anyone currently knows, exist only within that single trench and nowhere else. Researchers believe this may be because the deepest parts of different trenches are somewhat separated from one another by shallower water in between, making it difficult for creatures adapted to extreme depths to move from one trench to another. Over a very long time, this isolation may have allowed each trench's deepest inhabitants to slowly become distinct from their relatives elsewhere. Scientists are still studying exactly how isolated these populations truly are, and how long ago they may have diverged. Somewhere, in a single trench, a small creature may exist that lives nowhere else in the entire world. For any of these creatures to survive at all, their bodies must function in ways unlike almost anything found near the surface. Many proteins and enzymes, the tiny molecular machines that allow cells to function, behave differently under extreme pressure, sometimes folding into the wrong shapes or working far too slowly to sustain life. Deep-sea creatures have evolved versions of these molecules that remain stable and functional even under crushing pressure, allowing their cells to work normally in conditions that would disrupt similar molecules in surface-dwelling organisms. Scientists studying these pressure-adapted molecules hope to better understand not only how deep-sea life survives, but also how molecules in general respond to extreme conditions, which may have applications in other fields of research as well. Quietly, inside every deep-sea creature, countless tiny molecular machines continue working, shaped over millions of years to function calmly under pressures that would disrupt almost anything from the world above. Pressure shapes more than just molecules, though. In a few places, it shapes the movement of the water itself. In certain deep basins, scientists have observed something that resembles an underwater waterfall, a dense layer of cold, salty water flowing over an underwater ledge and cascading down into deeper water below, much like a waterfall on land, only far slower and far larger. Because the water on either side of this waterfall has different temperatures and salt levels, it does not mix immediately, creating a visible boundary as the denser water sinks. Some of these underwater waterfalls have been estimated to involve volumes of water far greater than any waterfall on land, simply moving far more slowly and quietly. Scientists continue to study these features, trying to understand how they affect the movement of deep ocean currents over time. Somewhere, in the quiet dark, an enormous slow-motion waterfall may be flowing right now, completely unseen, completely silent. Just as water can move in unexpected ways, so too can light, sometimes spreading across the oceans, surface in ways that puzzled sailors for centuries. Sailors have long told stories of milky seas, vast areas of ocean that appear to glow softly at night, sometimes stretching for many miles in every direction, lasting for several nights at a time. For a long time, this phenomenon was considered little more than a sailor's tale. Eventually, satellite images helped confirm that these glowing areas are real, and scientists believe they may be caused by enormous blooms of bioluminescent bacteria, covering vast stretches of the ocean's surface with a soft, even glow. Exactly what triggers these blooms, and why they sometimes last for so long, is still being studied. Somewhere, on a calm night, a wide stretch of ocean may be glowing softly from horizon to horizon, lit gently by countless tiny organisms, all at once. To better understand places like this, and the trenches far below them, researchers continue developing new ways to explore. New generations of submersibles and underwater robots are being designed with stronger materials, longer battery life, and more advanced sensors, allowing scientists to spend more time at extreme depths than ever before. Some newer designs aim to operate with less noise and disturbance, allowing researchers to observe deep-sea creatures behaving more naturally without the presence of bright lights or loud machinery disrupting them. Other projects focus on creating permanent or long-term sensors that can sit on the seafloor for months or years, quietly recording data without needing to be retrieved often. Scientists hope these new tools will help answer some of the questions raised by earlier expeditions, even as they likely raise new questions of their own. Slowly, carefully, our ability to observe the deep continues to grow, one quiet expedition at a time. Whatever these new tools find, they are likely to encounter eyes unlike almost anything found above the waves. Many deep-sea creatures have evolved unusually large eyes relative to their body size, an adaptation that may help them gather as much of the very faint available light as possible. In some species, these eyes can take up a significant portion of the creature's entire head. Other deep-sea animals have gone the opposite direction, with greatly reduced eyes, or no eyes at all, relying instead on other senses, like touch or smell, to navigate their world. Scientists believe these two very different strategies, extremely large eyes, or no eyes at all, may both represent successful ways of adapting to a world where light is either extremely faint or completely absent. In the deep, eyes take on forms shaped entirely by darkness, whether by gathering every last trace of light or by giving up on light altogether. Near the hydrothermal vents we spoke of earlier, those same dark eyes sometimes catch a very different kind of light. The mineral chimneys that form around hydrothermal vents do not last forever. Some grow remarkably quickly, with certain structures reportedly growing several feet within just a year or two, before eventually collapsing or becoming inactive as the vent's flow changes over time. Scientists believe some vent fields may remain active for decades or longer, while others may shift or shut down much sooner, sometimes appearing and disappearing within a human lifetime. Around these vents, faint light from extremely hot water meeting cold seawater has occasionally been detected, though it remains unclear whether any creatures actually use this glow in any meaningful way. In the deep, even geology itself seems to rise, glow faintly, and fade away again, in cycles far shorter than the slow lives of the creatures living nearby. After everything we've explored tonight, the creatures, the pressure, the darkness, the slow drift of time, perhaps the most striking thing of all is simply how much remains beneath us, waiting. Beneath the sediment, beneath the trenches, beneath even the deepest water, lies the solid rock of the Earth's crust, and beneath that, the slow, churning interior of the planet itself, far too hot and far too deep for any submersible to ever reach. The trenches we've explored tonight are, in a sense, simply the visible edge of something far larger and far older, the slow, ongoing story of how our planet continues to shape itself, one tiny movement at a time. Scientists will likely spend many more years exploring even the parts of the ocean we already know exist, let alone the parts that remain completely hidden. Somewhere below us, right now, in total darkness, the world continues, slowly, quietly, exactly as it always has. Across the wide, quiet plains below the trenches, one small, pink creature is often the most common sight of all. Sometimes called sea pigs, these small, plump sea cucumbers move slowly across the abyssal seafloor in surprisingly large numbers, feeding on sediment as they go. Their soft, rounded bodies and stubby legs have earned them their nickname, though they are gentle, slow-moving animals, posing no threat to anything around them. In some surveys, sea pigs have been found to be among the most abundant visible animals across vast stretches of deep sea floor, quietly grazing in groups. Scientists believe their abundance may make them an important part of how nutrients are recycled across these wide, otherwise sparse plains. Slowly, in small pink groups, these gentle creatures move across the dark sea floor, doing quiet work that mostly goes unnoticed. Beneath that same seafloor, in certain places, something unusual is locked away within the sediment itself. In some deep, cold regions of the ocean floor, a substance called methane hydrate can form, a strange, ice-like material that traps methane gas within a lattice of frozen water. It remains stable only under specific conditions of cold and pressure, and if disturbed, can release the trapped gas. Sometimes called ice that burns, a small piece can be lit with a flame, with the ice itself appearing to catch fire as the trapped gas burns away. Scientists are still studying how widespread these deposits are, and how stable they remain over long periods of time. Quietly, beneath the cold seafloor, certain patches of ice sit holding something flammable inside them, waiting, unnoticed, in the dark. Even the cables that cross these trenches, built for entirely different purposes, sometimes reveal things about the deep itself. Long cables, laid across the seafloor to carry data between continents, often pass directly over or near deep ocean trenches. Scientists have found that some of these cables can act as extremely long, sensitive instruments, picking up faint vibrations from seismic activity or even ocean currents passing nearby. Researchers are exploring ways to use this existing network of cables as a kind of large-scale sensor, potentially helping to detect earthquakes or monitor ocean conditions across vast distances without needing to install entirely new equipment. In a quiet way, technology built simply to carry information between distant places may also be quietly listening to the deep ocean itself, all the time, without anyone intending it to. Some creatures living near these cables, and throughout the deep, may be living far longer than almost anyone once expected. Certain deep-sea fish, such as some species of rockfish, have been estimated to live for over 100 years, with a few individuals possibly reaching ages far beyond that. Scientists believe the cold, stable conditions of the deep, combined with slow metabolisms, may allow some species to age very slowly compared to similar fish living in warmer, shallower water. Determining the exact age of these fish is difficult, often requiring careful study of growth rings within certain bones, similar to counting rings in a tree. Some researchers believe there may be deep-sea species whose true maximum lifespans remain completely unknown, simply because no individual has ever been observed long enough or old enough to find out. Somewhere in the deep, a single fish may be quietly continuing a life that began long before many of us were born. Not all deep, dark water lies beneath the open ocean. In some places, it hides much closer to shore, within the land itself. Blue holes are large, water-filled sinkholes found in certain coastal areas, often connecting to extensive underwater cave systems that can plunge to surprising depths. Inside these caves, conditions can resemble those of the deep ocean in miniature. Total darkness, stable temperatures, and unique, often poorly understood ecosystems. Some blue holes contain layers of water with very different chemistry at different depths, similar to the brine pools found in ocean trenches. Researchers continue to explore these systems carefully, given how challenging and potentially dangerous deep cave diving can be. Hidden within the land itself, these dark, flooded caves hold their own small pockets of deep ocean-like mystery, quiet and mostly unexplored. Whether in caves or trenches, much of what we know about the deep ocean's character comes simply from listening. Scientists use sensitive underwater microphones called hydrophones to record the sounds of the deep ocean over long periods of time. These recordings capture far more than most people might expect: the calls of whales, the crackle of shifting ice from distant glaciers, the rumble of underwater earthquakes, and a constant, low background hum whose exact sources are still being studied. Some of these recordings have run continuously for years, slowly building a picture of how ocean sound changes over time, by season and by location. Researchers describe listening to these recordings as something like eavesdropping on a conversation that has been going on for longer than anyone can remember. In the deep, even silence has its own quiet, layered sound, recorded patiently, year after year. Some of what happens in the deep is connected, gently, to something happening far above, even the changing light of the night sky. Scientists have found that the daily vertical migration we spoke of earlier, when small, creatures rise toward the surface at night can be affected by the brightness of the moon. On brighter, moonlit nights, some of these creatures appear to rise less far or stay slightly deeper, possibly to avoid being more visible to predators in the extra light. Researchers continue to study exactly how widespread this effect is, and how it might vary between different species and locations. It's a quiet thought. Somewhere below, the migration patterns of countless small creatures may shift slightly, simply because the moon above happens to be a little brighter than the night before. To survive in such cold, some deep-sea fish have developed something rather like a built-in defense against freezing. Certain fish living in extremely cold waters produce special proteins, sometimes called antifreeze proteins, which help prevent ice crystals from forming within their blood and tissues. These proteins work by binding to tiny ice crystals as they begin to form, preventing them from growing larger. Scientists have studied these proteins not only to understand how these fish survive, but also because similar molecules might have other uses, such as in preserving tissues or food at low temperatures. Exactly how widespread these proteins are among different deep-sea and polar species is still being studied. Quietly, inside the bodies of certain fish, tiny proteins continue working, keeping ice from forming, allowing life to continue in water cold enough to freeze almost anything else. In one particular hydrothermal field, scientists found something that looked less like a vent and more like a small, pale city. Discovered in the early 2000s, a hydrothermal field nicknamed the Lost City features tall, pale carbonate towers rising from the seafloor, some reaching impressive heights, formed by a different chemical process than the dark black smoker chimneys found elsewhere. The fluids venting here are cooler than at typical black smokers, and the chemical reactions involved are of particular interest to scientists studying the origins of life, since some researchers believe similar conditions may have existed on the early Earth. The towers themselves may have been forming for tens of thousands of years, growing slowly in the dark. Researchers continue to study this site closely, considering it one of the more unusual and significant discoveries in the deep ocean. In the dark, this pale, quiet field of towers continues to grow, slowly, the way it likely has for a very long time. After all of this, the creatures, the pressure, the silence, the slow growth of stone and ice and coral, perhaps what stands out most is simply the scale of it all. The deep ocean covers most of our planet, and the trenches within it represent some of the least understood places on Earth, despite being closer to us, in some ways, than the surface of the moon. Everything we've explored tonight, the glowing fish, the ancient corals, the slow currents, the quiet eruptions, represents only a small fraction of what is likely down there, waiting. Scientists expect that exploration of these places will continue for generations, with each expedition adding just a little more to what we understand, while likely uncovering just as many new questions. For now, the deep ocean remains mostly as it has always been, dark, cold, vast, and patient, holding its mysteries quietly, the way the night sky holds its stars, too far to fully reach, but comforting simply to know they're there. And so, slowly, we rise back toward the surface. Behind us, the trenches remain exactly as they were, dark, cold, and quiet, holding their pale creatures, their slow corals, their patient mysteries. The pressure that would crush us in an instant continues to press gently on a world that has never known anything different. Somewhere down there, a small fish drifts past a glowing lure. A worm sways gently near a warm vent. A single drop of water continues a journey that began long before any of us were born, and will continue long after. We didn't answer every question tonight. We weren't supposed to. Down in the deep, not knowing is simply part of how things are. And maybe, for tonight, that can be true for you too. Whatever you don't have answers for right now can simply stay there. They're drifting quietly, the way marine snow drifts down through dark water, settling slowly, without urgency, without rush. Let your thoughts do the same. Let them settle, one by one, soft and slow, until there's nothing left but stillness. The ocean above us is calm tonight. Somewhere far below, in total darkness, the world continues exactly as it always has. patient, unhurried, unseen. You can rest now too. Good night.